Hi guys, I just wanted to do a video about my top 6 financial books that I think that you all should read in order to get your mind more in tune with getting out of debt and wealth accumulation. So book number 1 is one that everybody and their mother knows about, of course, which is Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. Now, I got Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover to read, but my husband gave me the audio version, so I actually listened to the audio version more than actually reading the book, but literally the audio version is the book. And he talks about his 7 baby steps, doing the $1,000 emergency fund, and then going on from there. Doing your budget, spending it all on paper before you spend it in cash, budgeting to a zero-based budget, and then moving on from there. Only thing Dave and I don't agree on, of course, is credit cards are not evil. Other than that, I think we pretty much agree on most of his principles, which are very basic grandmother principles, as he said. Teaching you the principles that your grandmother would teach you, except we keep our teeth in. So, Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. Book number 2, I'm going to see if I can find a picture and put it up here, is The Richest Man in Babylon. Now, I really enjoyed this book because it let me know that even in days before, like, they could call it before Christ, but ancient Babylonia, which is like one of the oldest civilizations that actually physically has a record. So, even in those days, people had debt and people were trying to figure out how to get out of debt, and they actually have tablets where someone had scribed in there how they were going to repay their debts to someone and what percentage they were going to pay. They called it tenths, so they were saying a tenth of this or 2/10 of this or anything like that. So instead of 20%, 10%, that kind of stuff. But it starts out with a story about the richest man in Babylon, and then it moves on to his son teaching it, and then it moves on to them actually finding the tablets and the ancient Babylonian tablets, and the professor, when he translated it to another professor who was out actually doing the excavation. So this book teaches you basic budgeting. So I just think, like, this book, I don't know. I had never read it before. I had never heard it before. So when I heard it, I was like, this is amazing. Like, even back then, people were trying to figure out how to pay off debt. Like, debt has been here through time. Like, you knew, like, in old ancient England, because of indentured servitude, that people would create these debts they couldn't pay, and so they became indentured servants and they had to earn their freedom. But going all the way back then, that was just, it was wild. It blew my mind. Book number 3 is The Millionaire Next Door. I suggest reading this because, of course, this gets you into the mindset of how true millionaires live. Not your Bill Gates, not your Warren Buffett, the millionaires that are secretly living around you and you wouldn't know they were millionaires until something happens and all of a sudden, their wealth is known out there. So this teaches you, like, how they buy older cars, and some of them even coupon, and that they don't keep these high-end credit cards in their wallet. They're not all flash and cash, but they live a simple life, and they still accumulate millions in the process. So The Millionaire Next Door. The funny thing about this is it's actually taught me to kind of recognize when someone is, and even though they don't like to admit it, I've figured out, I've met some millionaires and figured out that they were even without the flash. So that's really cool. For the younger crowd, I would say Ramit Sethi's I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Now, this is for someone who may be coming out of college or in college, and they are looking for a personal finance book that kind of talks to them. This is old Ramit, not current day Ramit. old Ramit. Back when I used to read his blog, I would teach you to be rich on a daily basis. Like that was my thing back in the day. But he teaches you how to go for, all right, say I'm a sneakerhead and I love me some whatever brand sneakers, but they're like $100, $200 a pair. So he teaches you how to cut mercilessly on everything else so you can spend your money on your sneakers. So he's like, okay, pick your one vice. And that is what you're going to spend on. And everything else, just cut it. Just cut it. He also teaches you how to automate your finances, which I love to do. I automate the heck out of stuff. I love to automate my bills to be paid, everything, like my savings, automated. I automate, my 401k, I automate my Roth IRA, I automate my taxable investments. So, yeah, for you younger people who are like, I don't want to read anybody old, Ramit Sethi, because I believe he wrote this in his 20s, so he may have been 24, 26, 27 when he wrote it. But this book was really great back in my 20s. Book number, let's see, what are we on? Four? This one was really good. The 5 Lessons a Millionaire Taught Me for Women by about life and wealth by Richard Paul Evans. It teaches you how Richard Paul wound up getting into a millionaire mindset. And it was about basically a man who came to his church who was a self-made millionaire, owned the basketball or baseball team, I can't remember which one, and him teaching the church a lesson on money and how to, do well with it. But he goes on to teach people in the book, like his friends. If you read the original book, not this one's a little different. If you read the 5 Lessons a Millionaire Taught Me, he goes on to teach his friends how to get out of debt, how to do wealth accumulation, and have more money. So I really enjoyed this. The only thing that I didn't quite vibe with, but I understand his principle behind it because it makes sense, was taking like money, excess money that you would have wasted, and investing it in silver or gold blanks. So 0.999% pure silver, and then bringing them home and setting up a jar or something and putting that silver into the jar. And what the principle of this is for you to do is to start building your nest egg. I'm assuming this is for people who like spend a lot, and to avoid them from spending, keep them from spending, you sink the money into the silver, change it. Once it's changed into silver, you can't really spend silver in the stores and stuff like that. So you're forced to save. But I understand, like you said, you're building your nest egg, so it makes a lot of sense. But this book was really good, very interesting. I read this one, and then I turned around and just recently listened to the audio version, the original book that was the 5 Lessons a Millionaire Taught Me. That one takes about maybe 2 hours to listen to, so it's basically my commute to and from work, but still a great book. Definitely add this one to your list if you can. Like I said, the 5 Lessons a Millionaire Taught Me by Richard Paul Evans. And last but not least, it doesn't make it any less of a good book. This is definitely a great book. I talked to Sherry from Saver Spender. I think that's her name, her blog name. I'm not sure. She used to do Fabulously Broke in the City. And I was on Instagram, and I was, I had this picture up here, and I was like, I'm going to read this book. And she was like, you definitely need to read this book. It's really good. So, made it through. And this is Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin. Now, when you go to buy this book, make sure that you find the one that's by Vicki Robin, because I have one on my shelf that's not by her. I just saw the name and thought it was the same. But this book took me forever to read. You see, I've got tabs all through here. That's why it took me a long time to read. It is so full of information that it's just going to take you a while to get through, but it's such good information. And this is like the early retirement community's Bible. Because, next to, of course, Mr. Money Mustache and Early Retirement Extreme, all the blogs they have. But this book right here is about saving your money so that you aren't tied to a job. amazing. Saving and investing your money, reducing your expenses, getting to a point where your investments are paying for all of your expenses, and you're able to go and do what you love in life. That is what this book is about. So I definitely advise this for anyone who may be interested in it, but definitely check it out. So those are my 6 books that I think that everyone should read to get your mind into a place where you are focused on your finances, getting out of debt, and accumulating wealth. So until next time, guys, remember always that the best type of wallet to have is always, always, always a wealthy one. Peace.